Cruising through Middle America, it is the final edition of NV to AC. That video you saw wasn't going to miss. Crossing the Mississippi River on the way back, and then a trip down through Arkansas. I probably saw, after I crossed the Oklahoma border, one of the most majestic scenic views I've ever seen in my life. It was crossing the Arkansas River in Oklahoma at dusk, and it was absolutely amazing. The way that the sun hit it at that exact time, I mean, it was like picturesque stuff. If I could have pulled over, there was a spot to do it, I would have gotten some video. Unfortunately, I missed it, but I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we're gonna head into Albuquerque, check out Sandia Casino and the Breaking Bad tour, something I've always wanted to do, being a huge fan of that show and even a bigger fan of Better Call Saul, as you know that if you've watched this vlog over the years. Let's get on to Albuquerque. I remember absolutely loving the song Albuquerque by Weird Al. As a kid, it just made me laugh, and revisiting it here this week, it still makes me laugh. All right, Sandia Casino for the final vlog of NV to AC. I looked at the list, they got a 2-5 going on. It's a Monday, so I consider that a bit of run good. I wasn't really sure what to expect here. Let's jump in and find out, and then head over and check out the Breaking Bad tour afterwards. It was certainly one hell of a long drive from North Carolina all the way into New Mexico on Interstate 40. Though there were several cool things along the way. I had the chance to stop at a Buc-ee's, which wasn't exactly the thrill of a lifetime, but it was amazing to see just what a zoo it was in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, the amount of people that flocked to it. Then further down in Oklahoma, I did have the chance to stop by the Route 66 Museum, featuring one hell of a cool sign outside of it. And many people may not know this, but Route 66 was actually in operation in my lifetime. It wasn't decommissioned until 1985, so that means that I would have had the ability to drive on that highway throughout the first couple of months of my life. Also, check this out. On the way into Albuquerque, I noticed that the two pros that play in my game in Reno apparently have opened up their own saloon. Kind of weird. I'd get into the casino a little after noon on this Monday, and I'm not sure what good having 6 charging stations does if none of them are operational. The last hand you remember seeing on this vlog was one in which I was dealt pocket queens. Didn't go so well then, and I'd have a chance at redemption in the first hand I'd play at Sandia. After folding for the first 10 or 15 hands I was dealt on the day, we'd get an under-the-gun raise to 15, and I have queens and make it 55. The cutoff cold calls, and the under-the-gun raiser, obviously, calls as well. So with 160 in the pot, we go 3 ways to 8-8-7 rainbow, and the first guy checks. Not the easiest flop to get action on here from too many hands, so I bet an amount that will all but ensure that. I bet the same amount I made it pre-flop. Cutoff calls. Under the gun thinks for a minute, and calls as well. So with 325 in, the turn is the 5 of spades, and again, it gets checked to me. There is a concern that one of these guys is slow playing an 8 here, but how often will they show up with an 8 in a 3-bet pot is a question I could ask. So I bet 100 trying to bring their pocket pairs along here. Come to find out, that was a technique that had already worked with one of these guys in this hand. Cutoff calls this bet, leaving himself 150 behind, which was obviously a sign of strength, with him committing himself on this bet, but not putting the rest of his chips in yet? Seemed interesting. Under the gun thinks for a while, and he sticks around also. So with 625 in, the river is a slightly above average card for me. The only downside became the fact that the guy with actual money behind was the guy I figured didn't have much. And the guy, as I just mentioned, with 150 left, was the guy who clearly was slow playing something. Either way, I still decide to bet big, making it 350. The cutoff obviously gets a $200 discount on that, sticking in his remaining stack. Under the gun starts thinking about this, and I started wondering maybe there's a chance he could call here, but My initial instinct was correct, as he didn't think very long and finds the fold, and I win the hand against pocket fives. He then complained about me sucking out on him after he had just done the same thing to me on the prior street, making what I think most people would consider a pretty loose call with fives on that flop against a three-better in that spot. But either way, a $950 pot gets shipped in my direction. I'd lose a few small pots and then attempt to set mine with pocket fours. Turns out, my opponent, directly across from me in the 9 seat, was the guy who would actually hit a set with his big pair. I'd get the 7 seat for better filming, and, playing 7-handed, I have pocket aces under the gun. I open to 15, hoping obviously to get raised, but instead I just get 4 callers. Not really a shock, so with 70 in, it comes king, jack 8, 2 clubs, and it gets checked to me. I bet 50 here, and my only color is the hijack. By the way, speaking of which, hell of a show on Apple TV Plus with Idris Elba. With 170 in, the turn is an offsuit 5. For whatever reason, the dealer decides against pulling in the last bets, as you can see. So I just bet a stack of red chips here. He doesn't take too long with it and finds the fold. Pretty clear he did not have a king.
Well, hello there. Did you guys miss me last week? I couldn't let Ben have all the fun on vacation, so I've just been down here enjoying the view from my balcony in Rosarito, Mexico. I've been down here with my family, enjoying the sunshine, the beaches, the water, and all of the fun things that we can get ourselves into. This has definitely been my favorite summer experience. Why don't you tell me what one of yours has been?
I did lose $10 over limping 5-6 of diamonds, but that isn't what is interesting. As you can see, I slide out a stack of chips and leave 2 in there. The dealer then freaks out, saying that if I do that again, that's going to be a bet, because they have a live betting line in play. Now look, I've been to a lot of casinos now. This is the first time I have ever been in a game with that rule. I think Mike Nelson literally just broke his computer thinking about this. Anyway, I know a lot of places used to have that, like decades ago now. But pretty much all of them realized that it caused more problems than it solves. It's like how the NHL used to have that ridiculous rule about not being allowed to be in the goalie crease. You know, the place where you're trying to put the puck every possession of every game. They eventually got rid of it, saying, as long as you don't impede the goalie, it's fine. That obviously makes way more sense. This is the same kind of thing. It should be obvious if someone is either angling or something along those lines, and a formal betting line is not going to make a difference there. It probably just opens the door for more angles, in all honesty. But anyway, after that hand, I would lose $25 in a regular bomb pot. Not a PLO double board bomb pot, just a regular, let's put $25 in and go straight to the flop, bomb pot. It was just a case of one player asking for it and every other player deciding to go along with it. I then raised to 45 with Jack 10 of clubs and got a 4-4-5 flop. I fired a c-bet, got called, and was forced to give up on the turn. I then limp the button in a 5-way straddle pot with 9-6 of spades. So with 50 in, the flop is 10-7-6, 2 diamonds, 1 spade. Under the gun bets 15, plus 1 calls, and I make the call on the button. Small blind folds, but the big blind sticks around. So with 110 in, the turn is the 4 of diamonds. Now, if anyone bets out here, I'm just going to be done. But no one does. Seemed like a pretty good spot to represent a flush here, so that's what I do. I fire 125, and slowly but surely, all of these players throw their hands away. I then call $10 with 8-6 of spades, plus 1. After the player on my left made it 50, 3 others called him. So, closing the action, I call the extra 40 as well. With 200 in, it comes Jack 8-6 rainbow, giving me bottom 2 pair. I check. Original raiser in the low jack bets 120. Folds back to under the gun, who check jams all in for $250 total. So what's my play here? Just call and keep the other player in? or raise and likely lose him. I opted for the latter, making it 500. He actually shows kings and made a really good laydown. He was clearly the toughest opponent I had to deal with in this game by a sizable margin. I ask under the gun what he has, and his response is 2 pair, as I lose an $820 pot to his jack 8. The river actually ended up coming a king, so either way, I was going to be losing this pot should I have kept the other player in there. By the way, shout out to the guy I just mentioned, a local grinder named Matt. He kept the streak alive of someone mentioning this vlog in every room I was in on the trip. Anyway, I'd get aces once again, but unfortunately, would barely make anything with them. I kind of wanted to keep playing due to the fact that the game wasn't exactly shark-infested, but I needed to hit the road. So once again, it would be a very small win on this trip. Booking a win of $106. That's what happens when one cooler goes for you, one cooler goes against you, and you basically don't get involved with too many other hands throughout the course of about a 4-hour session the rest of the time. I'm now heading back to Reno, beginning the 2-day process of making Journey Through the Desert. Before leaving town, I had the chance to do something I'd always wanted to do. Go on the Breaking Bad Better Call Saul tour. It's a 3-hour experience that was kinda cool. You get to see Jesse Pinkman's house, which come to find out was right across the street from Chuck McGill's house. That actually came as a bit of a disappointment once I learned that. But the Twisters restaurant that plays Los Pollos Hermanos in the show was just as it was on the show, just not a chicken joint. The burritos didn't suck. Then it was Walter White's house, which, as you can see, gets a lot of tourists stopping by, and the Laundry Building, which looks just as it did when Gus Fring chose it to be the hideout for the Super Lab. Unfortunately, I'm told it's actually going to be torn down. I'd get a look at a few more stops along the tour, and then it was time to begin a lengthy 2-day return voyage. And as that journey commenced along I-40 outside of Albuquerque, I'd see maybe the coolest part of the Breaking Bad experience that wasn't on the tour, and that was simply driving by To'Hajiilee. If you're a Breaking Bad fan, you know what that spot means. All right, it is the final day of NV to AC. It's not going to involve any poker, just a hell of a lot of driving. By the way, I just drove through the town of Winslow, Arizona. I really just wanted to stop and take a picture of me standing on a corner and then post that to Instagram. But anyway, didn't do it. Wanted to keep making good time because this will be a lengthy day of driving as we cruise through the Arizona and Nevada deserts. The only day in my life where Vegas is just one stop on a trip. All I'm going to do is stop and supercharge. It's on back to Reno. Let's go over some stats from this trip. In terms of the poker, $441 down. Obviously that hand with the pocket queens against the pocket jacks was the most pivotal of the trip, but what can I say? If I had had the pocket jacks in his spot, I would have played him the exact same way. So, just happened to be on the wrong end of it. And the rest of the time, games were usually decent, not great. But not terrible. A couple of them, I guess, were pretty bad, but for the most part, kind of what I expected out of the poker games. And I've said it before, you go pretty much anywhere in the United States, and for the most part, these $5 blind games are going to be pretty similar. Some other numbers to point out from this trip. Number of Tesla charging stops that I made, that number right here. Average cost to charge on those stops, about 12 bucks, I would say. Total number of states visited, 20 states. on this trip. Total number of rollover crashes I nearly was a part of. 2. They both happened right in front of me by, I'd say, the length of 4 or 5 semi-trucks. I didn't actually see either crash when it happened, but I was dangerously close after it did. The first one, I'm convinced, I don't exactly know, but I'm convinced happened by one thing happening. You often see semi-trucks, one semi gradually looking to pass the other in the left-hand lane of a 4-lane highway. And you kind of know this is going to take a minute. So when that happens, I just get in the left lane and I get behind the semi that's going to pass the other. I just gradually wait for him to do so, and I'm just going to gradually pass with him. Well, what inevitably happens is someone pulls up behind you in the left-hand lane. They then go on tilt because you're not going fast enough in the left lane because there's a semi in front of you. So what they inevitably do is go into the right-hand lane. They see a little bit of daylight, but are too stupid to realize what's actually going on. So they go on tilt. They then try to pass a semi on the right. Let me just say, if you're passing a semi on the right, 99% of the time you're doing something wrong, because that truck doesn't want to be there in the first place. But anyway, I see this happen. This idiot trying to pass a semi on the right. 10 minutes later, there's a massive rollover crash. Didn't look like anyone was killed in it, but, and I don't know if it was the exact car, and there were no semis involved in the actual crash, so who knows the exact correlation, but I'm convinced that it was related. And then I saw another one just today on Highway 40 in the middle of nowhere. Number of times I corrected someone's pronunciation of the state I live in. I'm going to say about 5. I heard a lot of Nevadas on this trip, and I had to correct them. It's Nevada. It is not Nevada. Get that shit right. And some of you guys are going to laugh out of this one. Number of women that allegedly tried to match with me on Bumble. Well, as you can see, all I know is that it's over 50. Now, I will say, that app has been very good to me this year. I actually deleted it off my main phone, which I'm recording on right now. But, come to find out, I had not deleted the app off this old phone, which I really only use for taking notes for the vlog while this other phone is recording the video. So it was still on there. I looked at it during a supercharging situation that I had to deal with in Albuquerque out of sheer boredom, and there it was. 50 plus women from all over the country that apparently made this attempt. And I know there are a lot of women out there that are very attractive and reasonably young that would look at 50 matches and just refer to that as a Thursday.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that.
Man, when's the last time we've been to Fremont Street on this vlog? Has it ever happened? I'm not sure. Anyway, charging the car up here in Vegas is a stopover trip this time. Had to come check out this place, Circa, on Fremont Street. How about this sports book? Absolutely unbelievable. Definitely worth checking out. I think they have the outdoor pool play area as well, which would also be awesome. And what the hell is this? My Giants are losing 4-0 to the Mariners? God damn, I just can't catch a break as a sports fan these days. Shit.
I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own.
All right, checking in one last time on NV to AC. It's one of these trips that I just always wanted to do. Drive my car all the way across the country, play some poker, see some sights. Even though it wasn't a profitable trip, I'll always be able to say that I've done it. and I genuinely appreciate those of you who made this journey along with me. You know, having this vlog kind of motivated me to do it, knowing that I could create something as a result of this trip, some content for people to enjoy. Again, it gave me that motivation that it took to make this happen. So I'll always have that. Cruising back on US 95 up to Reno, like you've seen me do a number of times on this vlog. And it just kind of occurred to me that it was exactly, almost down to the week, 20 years ago that I first made this drive by myself. I'd made it with my dad prior to. But I made this trip solo in 2003. I decided to start off my college career at UNLV before going back up to Reno and finishing it at the University of Nevada. That was a mistake, and I didn't stay at UNLV for more than a year then when I was 18, but I'll always remember that trip, driving through this desert, listening to CDs of Audio Slave, which just came out with its first CD at the time, All American Rejects. They had a new album. The Offspring had released Splinter. I was pulling CDs out of the visor, putting them in my old Nissan XE pickup, which was a stick shift, could barely move at all, and had no cruise control. Well, now I'm making this trip in a Tesla, which doesn't even burn gas, goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 or whatever it is, and basically drives itself. So, at least I've upgraded vehicles over the course of the last 20 years, regardless of whether or not my life and my career went as I expected it would then. At least I got that going for me. But you know what? I will say, in all honesty, I'm happy where my life went. It's one of those things where when you're 18, you don't know which direction it's going to go, and I never would have guessed when I was 18 that I'd be a news anchor / poker vlogger, and I'd be in the position that I'm in now. But I like the direction that it's gone in. Oh, but one thing that I do have in common with my 18-year-old self that still applies today, I look like shit with facial hair.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.
Cruising through the South. Actually, not too far out of Roanoke. Just need to find a trucker out of Philly and have a license. Cruising through the American South. Not too far out of Roanoke. Just need to find a trucker out of Philly and have a license. God damn it! I shall not sit by and tolerate something so unimaginable, something so inconceivable, something so outrageous as a general manager of a National Hockey League team trading players and signing others. What is the world coming to? Are you going to see a barista making a drink? Huh, I will not tolerate it. What's that? Oh, they're in the final? Huh, I'll be at every game.
I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old.